These Rams are for real. There's something very special brewing for the 2025 Locked On In. These Rams are for real. There's something very special brewing for the 2025 Los Angeles Rams. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and if you want to support every episode, hit the like button, drop a comment. Less than 200 subscribers away from 20K, so get us there. And podcast listeners, write us a review and read on the show. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleach Report, SI, Dodgers Nation. And as always, I'm joined by the Rams pre, half, and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's in his 11th season covering your Los Angeles Rams, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, we are continuing to break down the Rams' big win over the Jaguars. And we're going to talk about the state of the Rams in this bye week. How high are the expectations? How big is the ceiling? Where they fit on these power rankings? We're going to look around the league a little bit, but let's get right into it, Travis. You talked about it before the show. I mean, this is probably wire to wire their most impressive win of the season, considering you're going across the pond. You win in dominating fashion, 35-7. Third quarter wasn't great. Running game was at its best. But the fact you did this without Puka Nacua, the scheming with McVay, I thought it was... I'm with you. I think this was their most impressive win of the season.
Yeah, I do. I do. I think that, I'll just steal a phrase directly from Sean McVay. It was the best example of complementary football that we've seen from this team all season long, that the offense functioned at a very high level. Matthew Stafford was terrific. 5 touchdown passes, no interceptions. Davante Adams, 3 touchdown passes. Even though, he only had 5 catches, had just barely over 40 yards. It was a weird stat line, but 3 touchdowns is 3 touchdowns, so he's pleased. 10 different receivers involved in the passing game, and then a defense that yet again held an opponent to under 10 points. That's the third time in the last 4 weeks that they've held an opponent to under 10 points. They're giving up under 16 points a game on average for the season. It was a game of complementary football, minus the special teams, which they very clearly tried as hard as they could to avoid. Under all circumstances, I thought Sean McVay called a great game. I thought they had an opportunity to knock Jacksonville out, and they took it, and they did. This is something that the Rams have struggled with at times, to kind of put teams away, and it felt like this game was over late third quarter, that there was very little chance that Jacksonville was going to come back. So I was really pleased. It's the perfect way to go into the bye on a very, very high note, with an opportunity to stack another one against the Saints coming up in a couple of Sundays.
Yeah, it felt like a mature win, too. It felt like a win that you have when you're a real legitimate Super Bowl contender and you're really taking care of business. And yes. I think that these guys embraced the challenge of going out there and winning without Puka Nacua. I mean, it was truly no Puka, no problem. And that's no slight at Puka Nacua. We know he's a top 5 receiver in this league. We also know that you have to go. You don't want to be a Jamar Chase, right? You don't want to be a Justin Jefferson, right? You want to be on teams where, you can not have the best game and other guys can step up in big spots. And I think that is what impressed me the most with Sean McVay. And Sean McVay, I mean, I think there's a little bit of, we're spoiled by him. We take him a little bit for granted just because he's been so good for, right? He's been so good for so long. And I looked at everyone saying, 12 personnel, right? Let's get 2 tight ends. It was great to see Terrence Ferguson, our guy from Oregon, having his first touchdown, that 31-yard fade. Beautiful throw from Matthew Stafford. Everyone said they want to see 12 personnel. We saw 13 personnel. Yep. And that was really cool. I mean, you saw a 13 personnel on 38.7% of their snaps. From 2021 to 2024, they used 13 personnel 6 times. So, I mean, it's a perfect example of Sean McVay saying, okay, cool. You guys think I can't win without Puka? You think I'm not scheming? You think you can't win the red zone anymore? I'll show you this. So I think it was the best Sean McVay game we've seen in a while, too, as far as just schematically.
Okay, I'm going to throw a word out there that is probably too far, but I think it's close, okay? And I'm not saying that anybody doesn't do anything other than their very best every single week, and everybody's trying to win every single game. Every time they get ready to go, everybody's competing at the highest level. Boredom. I think there's some element of, hey, this is going to work. We're going to go out there. We're going to do this. This is what we do. This is what works. This scores points. This stops points. This is what we're going to call in these situations. Here are the 10 plays we know that we can dial up at any given time, and we're going to be able to move the ball. And then all of a sudden, something like Puka Nacua is unavailable to play a game, and that it's a better word than boredom, routine. Let's use the word routine instead. And now all of a sudden, the routine has to change. The routine can't be, well, we're going to throw the ball at Puka Nacua 15 times. Well, that's 15 plays that need to go somewhere else. And it gets the juices flowing. It gets the creativity flowing. It gets the other players, and not in any sort of negative way, but just in a, hey, I have an opportunity maybe that might not be here if our all-pro wide receiver is available. So I'm dialed up. Everybody's dialed up. And you get to see it. I think that just adds a little energy, a little juice. I think McVay likes the challenge. I think that he relishes the opportunity to do with what you said, which is, oh, yeah, you think so? Well, watch this. Because every time it feels like there's some adversity, and I'm just pulling these out of thin air, whether it was the Fires last year when they had to go to Arizona to play a playoff game, whether it was in the middle of the COVID pandemic where, basically the entire offense gets ruled out of the game about 30 seconds before kickoff. And it's like, yeah, we're good. We'll figure it out anyway. And those are some of their very best performances. We've seen them get through things so many different ways when you think, okay, well, this is going to be a little different. And that's when they're at their best. I think those moments where you got to kind of figure it out a different way, he lives for those, because in London, they did a different travel plan, right? Everyone else goes over there a few days before to try to acclimate and get used to the jet lag. They basically said, forget it, man. We're going to go in, we're going to sleep, we're going to get up, we're going to kick your butt, we're going to leave. I mean, it was a totally.
And he was taking heat for that too. Like he was taking that. People were criticizing that, and I mean, it's a logistical decision, and clearly it paid off for him. And 3 of those touchdowns came out of that 13 personnel too. And it just, I think for what I'm kind of getting is, look, necessity is the mother of invention, and that's something that inspires and takes Sean McVay to another level. I remember during one of the COVID seasons when they were out 4 starters against the Cardinals, and people were like, what are they going to do? And you saw those jumbo packages. You saw 6 offensive linemen. We saw when the Rams were without Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, you saw more 12 personnel. So as much of as a positive as this is, kind of just to kind of look at this too from another angle, is like just maybe Sean McVay should just force these things and find these things and maybe create these fake criticisms to just maybe have him scheme a little better in the red zone moving forward. Because I mean, there were some stagnant moments this year offensively that, hey, like I like the inspired, energized version of Sean McVay versus the one that you said, and that comes back to the boredom and the routine.
Yeah, it's just, like I know that my stuff works, right? So I know that if I just keep playing these hands, if I just keep calling, it's gonna work. We're gonna beat almost everybody. We're gonna make the playoffs. We're gonna contend for a division title. We're gonna go in there. This works. But when all of a sudden I don't have that as an option and I have to get creative, they look different. They look a little crisper, a little faster, a little more dynamic, all of these things. And clearly you want Puka back. It has nothing to do with Puka being out. It's just that little bit of buzz, that little bit of forced ingenuity that comes along with it. And it sure looked like it showed up. And I'll tell you what, I bet a bunch of other teams going to London now show up the day before, because that Rams team that put up the London games stink, right? Like those games, just as a general rule, are not particularly well played. They're almost never competitive. One team looks okay and the other team looks terrible. Well, the team that looked pretty okay was the team that'd been there about 5 minutes. Yeah,
and our guys at Matthew Stafford, he was the first quarterback with 5 passing touchdowns in an international game. Did you see, like, there was a reporter there? It felt like there was like so many international reporters, and like he was saying like he should get knighted. Did you see that?
Yeah. By the way, that'd be pretty baller. Sir Matthew Stafford.
Sir Matthew Stafford would absolutely kill it, man. And you know what the thing is too? that is the guy that should have gotten all the commercials every time it went to break. Is it me, or was every single commercial a Trevor Lawrence commercial? Like when we go to break right here, are you going to read the ads, or is Trevor Lawrence going to hop on and read Rougiet, right? Is Trevor Lawrence Rougiet ready, or Nutrafol, whatever? He doesn't need Nutrafol, okay? But little OD on the Trevor Lawrence ads.
Yes, and here's the thing, and good for Trevor Lawrence and his agent and who's ever in charge of this stuff again. But remember when you had to be good at something to get ads? Remember that? Like when you actually had to like be good at whatever it is you were doing, like you had to hit home runs or throw touchdown passes or win games or score baskets or goals or whatever it is. And now you just have to be teammates with somebody who's a high draft pick because they've never been good for 5 seconds in the entire existence he's been in the league. And we're doing Adidas ads. I don't understand.
I didn't get it either. Real quick before we hit the break, how much to you, because it felt like this to me, it really felt like another inspiration for Sean McVay was going up against Liam Cohen. It reminded me a little bit of Rex Kwon Do and Napoleon Dynamite. Bow to your sensei, right? Bow to your sensei, right? I mean, it did feel a little bit like that to me, especially with the 13 personnel. No one's seeing that. It felt like Cohen had no idea what to do at times.
It was a mismatch. It was a mismatch. And we can talk about this moving forward, but Jacksonville is not a terrible team, right? I don't think they're a good team, but they're not a team that should get bulldozed like that. And they got bulldozed, and it seemed like Sean McVay was enjoying the bulldozing more than the average amount. It did feel like there was a little bit of, oh yeah, okay, all right, here it comes, get ready.
I totally felt that too. He just had he had no answers. He had no answers. And Sean McVay is looking down at that sheet. He knows what's his next move. You can just totally see the difference. I totally agree with that. But coming up next, Davante Adams and Matthew Stafford on the same page finally. And we'll talk more about this Rams defense. Throw out some game balls, winners and losers. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
The NFL season is back, and honestly, there is nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans of our favorite team, cheering everything on. Here's the rub, though, right? Getting tickets can be a huge pain in the neck. Between queues, login screens, prices jumping by the time you finally get to checkout, it can be incredibly frustrating. That's why I like to use Gametime, right? It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, it's easy, it's backed by the Gametime guarantee. So you're always going to get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. No more of this, oh, okay, I like that. Click, click, click. Wait, what? Where'd that price come from? Not with Gametime. You can pull up Gametime, and just in a couple of taps, you're going to see some amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games for as low as $100. It's faster, cheaper, and way less stressful than any other way you're going to buy tickets. So download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today.
And we're off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, Travis, so here in our second segment, I want to shift back to the defense before we get into Stafford and Davante Adams talk here. Look, the defense was fantastic. You pitch a shutout again in the first half, third time they've done that this season. You get those big stops on fourth down, two of them come in the red zone. They were 2 for 6 on fourth down. I mean, this defense, they make the routine look standard. And I think that is a mark of a great defense. But obviously, you got to focus on the weak spots first and how they fared. And I was very impressed with the cornerback play with Darius Williams and Emmanuel Forbes. And typically, Travis, I'm the guy that I'll try to, run off their PFF grade. I'm going to tell you, Travis, I might be done with PFF grades forever. I might be done. I might never read them again ever on this show for the rest of Locked On Rams. Can I tell you why?
Please.
PFF gave Geno Smith, who went 10 for 16 with 67 yards, no touchdowns, and no interceptions, a higher PFF grade this past week than they gave Patrick Mahomes, who went 26 for 35 at 286 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. I might I paid that company hundreds, maybe thousands of subscriptions for years. I might need a refund. Okay, what are we talking about?
I have no idea. I do know that the Chiefs had more first downs than the Raiders had plays. I do know that. That's something that actually
insane.
Happened. Yeah, it's bonkers. That stuff can inform to a degree, but this is one of those classic don't believe your lying eyes, right? I know what I saw. You can put it whatever math equation you want, however you want to spin it analytically, be my guest, but I know what I'm looking at. I know good play when I see it. I know bad play when I see it, and I know which category Geno Smith falls into.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a quick tangent there, but I mean, look, like I said, as long as they help build your narrative, then they work for you. But
exactly.
The truth is, though, this defense, they continue to impress, and I think what really makes this defense a great defense is they make plays when they need to, and that is what they've done all season long. You saw that again. Byron Young, fantastic. Jared Verse, I think you're seeing an improved secondary, but is it to the point where, I think that now Darius Williams understands, hey, that was a revenge game for me going up against my other team. This is 2 straight weeks where you've seen a really solid play from Darius Williams. Emmanuel Forbes, do you see that one play where he upended the dude? Kind of flipped him over, the physicality. Do you think that this is a situation where they're just getting the message? They're understanding that, hey, we're going to be without Akella Witherspoon. And also, hey, they're probably saying to themselves, if we don't play well, they're going to trade for someone.
There you go. That's what it is. That has to be it. I was waiting for you to get there.
Yeah.
He starts working hard. Guys that might lose their jobs, right? that is a really good motivator to get your in gear. One of those. Hey, listen, man, I don't care what it is you do. Let's say you're a sales rep. If the boss calls you in and says, listen, man, you've missed your numbers 10 quarters in a row. Like this is the last time we can do this. If this doesn't change, we're going to have to make a move. So, let's see what you got. I think that gets everybody involved. The Rams defense has been not good, not very good. It's been terrific so far this season. The back half, I think, still needs some work. Quentin Lake is getting a lot better. His graph is certainly trending in the right direction. And like you mentioned, whether it's Darius Williams, whether it's Emmanuel Forbes, their graphs are going in the right direction too. But those guys at the front, Doug, like you said, they're getting off the field when they have to get off the field. They're making big plays. They're turning the ball over. They're creating pressure. It's not just one guy. It's Byron Young. It's Jared Verse. We saw Josiah Stewart with another sack. Nate Landman had a sack and a half again. Braden Fisk hasn't even had a sack yet this season, and yet he's about this far away from getting one seemingly on every snap that he's out there on the field. So I know we spend a ton of time on Puka and Stafford and Devontae and Kyron Williams and all these great offensive players that they have. But, Doug, I'm not so sure that this isn't a defensive first football team. When you're holding the opponent to 16 points a game, you're going to win in the NFL just about every single time. That is an incredibly efficient defense. And if they can get better in the back end, and I would still like to see them go and pursue a corner. We'll see as we get a little closer. They got one more game. They play the Saints, and I think it's the Tuesday after that is the NFL trade deadline. I'd like to see them be active, but they other than the place kicking, they have the components in place to make a very, very deep run.
You're absolutely right, in my estimation as well. And I have no issue with that. I think some people, they don't want to accept the fact that this is a team that's identity is they're going to hang their hat on elite defense. But the truth is, this is a top 5 defense. And they're only going to get better. I think there's only 2 times this year where you've kind of had some concerns with the defense. The first half against the 49ers, third quarter, second half, there were some spots against the Eagles where you were concerned where the secondary was getting torched. When A.J. Brown got going, they were kind of making these cornerbacks look small and attacking them in those spaces. But, you go back and look at this game, the Jags didn't get a first down until the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
They get 6 sacks. There's pressure all over the field. And you mentioned Josiah Stewart, right? They're kind of they're finding other dudes that are behind the dudes. And those guys are coming in and they're making plays. And Nate Landman's been a complete revelation, an absolute revelation. And I think that he's been better than even the Rams could have hoped that he would be, right? Stopping the run game, couldn't afford the addition. This is a really complete Quinn Lake. Let's be honest. I mean, lots of big dudes, lots of studs on this defense end. It all comes together with Chris Shula, who we've said on the show before. We'll say it again. Let's enjoy him while he's here.
No doubt about it. I want to go back to Landman for a second. You mentioned Puka Ford as well. Coleman Shelton is another guy that they brought in during the offseason, brought him back and put him back at center. The guy that of all the free agent acquisitions that they went out and got, the guy that we're still like, yeah, I don't know, is Davante Adams, who leads the team in touchdowns. So that's how good Landman's been. That's how good Puka Ford has been. That's how good Coleman Shelton. Like that Adams is the one that we're focusing on, and he's leading the team in touchdowns. Should tell you how good those other guys have been. And just real quick, I'll just throw this in there as far as that defense goes. This is a Jacksonville team that beat the 49ers. The 49ers are good, okay? This is a Jacksonville team that beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I think we all know what the Kansas City Chiefs are. And the Rams pulled their pants down, man. It wasn't close. Like, they just absolutely ran them over. And look, I don't think Jacksonville is a playoff team. I don't think that they're going to contend for that division title. I think Indianapolis has all but wrapped that thing up at this point. But that's not a team that stinks, right? That's not a team that's going to win 3 or 4 games. That's going to be an 8 or a 9 win team, a 7, 8, 9 win team, somewhere in the middle of the pack. And to make them look that bad, I think spoke really highly of that Rams defense.
Yeah, that Jags team, they led the league in turnovers heading into this one. No turnovers for the Rams. Before we go to the next segment, Davante Adams, I think you got to feel great about that. I mean, like you mentioned, didn't have the receiving yards, 35 yards, but still 3 touchdowns. What I thought was so interesting about the Davante Adams situation and how they attacked that was you'd assume with Puka out, they were just going to spam him with targets all game. And it was good. Double-digit targets, and okay, go to Adams. Instead, they used it as an opportunity to spread things around. 10 Rams receivers caught passes. The first time you've had that since Eagles legend, Arizona legend Nick Foles back in 2015 did that for this franchise. So he was spreading the ball around, but Davante Adams was getting his when it mattered most. And when he was getting open, when he was shaking guys, it shows why he's such a valuable red zone threat. And we got one of my favorite plays in football, the no-looker Matthew Stafford to
that's great.
Down to the back of the end zone. That's pretty.
No, that's just fun. That's like unique to maybe Mahomes can do a few things like that as well. So it's like Stafford and Mahomes are the only guys that are operating on that level of I'm not even going to look at you and I'm going to hit you right between the numbers. I kind of look at the Adams thing and the Puka thing. I've been trying to find a way to exploit. You got 2 different cars in your household, right? You've got the SUV that you need to do to go get the groceries, to get the kids to school, to go to soccer practice. That's going to do all of your grinded out stuff. That's Puka, right? Like Puka's just going to be the guy, hey, we're going to get in that car over and over and over again. We're going to drive it till the wheels fall off. You're going to go over potholes at 100 miles an hour and you don't give a damn. You just full speed ahead. Davante Adams is the convertible Porsche you take out on the weekends that you need to go score touchdowns with, that you can go throw one-handed, no-look, catch it over the back of your head stuff that Puka doesn't got that, right? You can't do that in a Ford Explorer. You can only do that in a Ferrari, and that's what Davante Adams is. And, you know, they needed to use the Ferrari this weekend. They only drove it 3 times or 5 times or whatever it is, but they're just totally different tools to do what you need to do. It's great if you have both. And that's what they have. They have a guy that can move them down the field, but when they need somebody that can just win in tight areas, that's Davante Adams. Davante Adams, those 3 touchdowns, Puka doesn't do any of that. And that's not a slight on Puka. That's a compliment to Davante Adams for what he can do in really small, tight situations. Let's use Puka to get down there and use Davante to score the touchdowns, and everybody goes home happy.
I like that. I don't know about you. I don't have 2 cars. I still get around like on a Razor scooter. But yeah, I'm thinking of an MTV Cribs episode with Travis Rogers. You open up the garage, got the Porsche, got the Range, you got the G-Wagon. I mean, no, I love that. Absolutely. To me, I think Puka's like a Porsche SUV, right? It's like he can go fast, but he can be physical too, right? Something kind of like that.
Something like I'm thinking more like Suburban. It's a little bit, it's not quite as racy as a Cayenne. It's going to be able to kind of corner real fast. It's like Suburbans are nice, by the way. Suburbans are great. I'll take a Suburban.
All right, I'll give you my hard. Okay, it has nothing to do with sports right here. Yeah, I'll give you my car hot take.
Okay,
and people hate me for this car hot take.
Go.
I actually think the PT Cruiser is a classic. Like it's a banger. Like I like the PT Cruiser. It kind of gives you a toaster vibe, but I like it kind of gives you that like that old school like gangster car thing back in the day. So that's my hot take. I think the PT Cruiser is a banger.
It looks like the worst designed Hot Wheel of all time.
So you don't agree with me?
No. It looks like if you let a 6-year-old with a Hot Wheel, like, computer-aided design program, he'd come up with that. Like, what if we made something that was kind of like a station wagon, but not as good, kind of like an SUV, but not as good, and made it look like it was from the 30s and there were robbing banks in it. That's what it looks like.
No PT Cruiser slander on this show, but I will say it's not a Mazda because Mazda is moved or be moved.
Can I ask another question about the PT Cruiser? Why were they all purple or maroon?
Yeah, they're all purple or maroon, and then if some weird silver color,
there was no white PT Cruiser or blue. It was like there were all these weird metallic colors.
It was like Darkwing Duck purple.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it was pretty nasty for sure. But coming up next, we're going to talk to Matthew Stafford, game balls for the Rams Week 7 win over the Jaguars. That's coming up on Locked On Rams.
The NFL season is underway. By the way, baseball playoffs, NBA season is here, NHL. So FanDuel, what they have is an offer that you are not going to want to miss, because right now, if you're a new customer at FanDuel, all you have to do is bet $5 and you're going to get $300 in bonus bets if you win. You heard me right. You just pick a bet, any bet, put down $5. And if you hit on that $5 bet, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets across the app to use them however you would like. And there are so many ways to play at FanDuel. You can build parlays, which are super fun. You can try player props, which are a lot of fun as well. And if you're one of those guys that likes to wait for the game to start to play, maybe you like to take a little bit of a long shot as the game unfolds. You feel like there's a comeback happening. Live lines during games. It makes watching football, everything really, even more exciting when you got a little something riding on that action. So let me ask you the most important question. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, Travis, here in our final segment. Got to get the game ball out. I think it's pretty easy for this one. It's going to be for Matthew Stafford. The week that he had the touchdowns, no interceptions, and I think it's just kind of ties a bow on just kind of the first part of the season for him, where you looked at the start of the year, there was all the concerns about the back. We probably did like 15 episodes on the back, how concerned we were with the back. And if you just gave me like B version of Matthew Stafford, if you could promise me the B version of Matthew Stafford when we're dealing with all the back concerns, I probably would have signed up for that. But somehow, some way, not only is he healthy, he's in the MVP conversation now. And I don't think anyone would have bet that at the beginning of the season. To start the year, he was behind a lot of dudes, but he's now creeping up. You got this per FanDuel, by the way, great sponsor. FanDuel, you got Mahomes, Allen, Drake May, Baker Mayfield, and then Matthew Stafford. So he's ahead of guys like Jared Goff and Dak Prescott. I mean, he's a top 4, top 5 MVP candidate, and we're 7 weeks into the season. I don't think you'd have asked for more if you're a Rams fan.
Okay, you ready? I think he's got a real shot at it. I think he's got a real good shot at it, because here's what's coming up. The Rams are good, which you have to be, right? You're going to have to win a bunch of games. Your team's success is almost the most important thing when it comes to getting MVP consideration. He's a quarterback, so the quarterback of the team with the best record or one of the best records is always going to be a consideration. Statistically, he is at the top of a lot of these lists when it comes to yardage. He had that 5 touchdown game. So he's put himself in the conversation. What's coming up in the second half of this season is not only are you going to start to play a lot of division games, they're going to be very important, but they're going to get a prime timer against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's going to be a big game. He's going to go head-to-head with Jared Goff. That's going to be a game that everybody is looking at. That there are big moments. There's 3 prime times. They got a Sunday night, they got a Monday night, and they got a Thursday night that are still where everybody's paying attention. And if Matthew Stafford goes out there and delivers the goods in those, he's going to go right near the top. I looked this up the other day. There's precedent here. Like, there's been 37-year-old guys that have won the MVP award, but there's only one guy that have won an MVP for the first time at 37 years old, and it was Rich Gannon with the Raiders a million years ago. So it does happen. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does. And I think that if the Rams are one of the best teams in the NFC, if the Rams are performing on primetime games Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, and Matthew Stafford is got a statistical case to be made. It doesn't have to be a top at all of them, but a case to be made. The narrative for a guy that's going to the Hall of Fame, finally getting his first MVP at 37 years old, putting his team maybe near the top of the standings in the conference, near the top of the standings in the division, that is a powerful MVP case. And I think if he stays healthy, he's going to be right in the middle of it.
See, I think this is interesting because it's one thing to say that, oh, he's in the MVP conversation. It's another thing to take it a step further and kind of give it a path to how he can actually win. And I think that's what stands out to me is it's early enough in the season where you can build that narrative. A lot of times in baseball, even in the NBA, that MVP is won in the first part of the season. It doesn't matter what happens later in the season. It's tough to overcome what happened the first part of the season. The NFL is a little different, right? But I think for Stafford, you have a case early enough to, you get the team wins, you're sitting at 7-2, you're right in the mix in the NFC. And I think too, there's this there's a little bit of voter fatigue for guys like the Lamar Jacksons and the Josh Allens and the Patrick Mahomes. Let's get a fresh face. Let's get a new guy. It happens to be a new guy at 37 that is having a Hall of Fame career. We all think he's going to have that gold jacket one day, but for a guy that's had such a great career, he's only received MVP votes once. That was when he finished 8th in 2023. So that was not even when he was with the Lions at the peak of his kind of physical power. So I totally agree. Like, it's something fun to look at because, I mean, the truth is, if he wins it or not, it doesn't really matter that much, but it does matter in the sense that if he's in the conversation, it tells you that he's been healthy, he's performing well. And look, just give me Super Bowl MVP, which I still think he should have won in 2021. Yeah. And I do think they should bring that tradition we saw in 2015 when Malcolm Butler got the truck. I mean, Brady gave it to him. Bring back the tradition and give him a PT Cruiser. That's all I'm saying. I think I looked it up on Auto Trade. Get you a burgundy one for $4,500. Come on, Venmo me. I'll buy it for you.
They'll give you $4,500 if you drive it away from their yard. Is that what it is?
I got to give them, but yeah, I get. You're hating. You're being a hater. I don't like it.
Matthew Stafford has got a shot at this because here's the other thing. McVay will want him to get it. He'll want to get it, right? Like you can kind of smell it, right? You can kind of, hey, we're close. Let's tack on a few of these things and get these numbers up there. I think if fast forward, we're in week 8 right now, right? Fast forward to like week 12 or 13. If he's still right smack in the middle of that race where I expect him to be, I think you could see him mash the gas and really go for it. I hope they do because it would be super fun to watch.
And real quick too, like, call me crazy. Like, Matthew Stafford is a guy that some people debate his Hall of Fame case, right? Some people debate it, right? And that's fun. It's fun to debate. It feels like Matthew Stafford in the back of his mind, and trust me, I know players say one thing to the media, but they think the other thing. I've talked to Mookie Betts and this. Like, Mookie Betts wants to be in the Hall of Fame. Like guys like that, Freddie Freeman wants to be in the Hall of Fame. I feel like that Matthew Stafford, an MVP, he wants to be in the Hall of Fame. He wants to win another Super Bowl to get him to the Hall of Fame. Don't you think there's a part of that that's as far as why he's continuing his career? It's got to be a motivating factor, man. I mean, it's the ultimate legacy pool.
100%. Look, there are two things that take Matthew Stafford from a very, very likely Hall of Famer, which I think is where he is right now. I think he's like 7th or 8th all time in passing yardage, to a deadlock cinch Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman level Hall of Famer, and that is win an MVP or win another Super Bowl. Those are the two things that just take it from an 85-90% likelihood to a 99.9999999 chance. And he's got a chance to do both this year, or one or the other. Both of those things punch his ticket.
Yeah, let's get greedy and let's win both. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_late. And you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.